Welcome in, everybody. It is Thursday morning, September 29th, 7:32 a.m. Mountain Time. Means it's time for an episode of Broncos for Breakfast. I am Nick Kendell, joining you on these morning shows, and as always, my co-host, Scott Kennedy, over there in Atlanta. Scott, how you doing this morning, and how's the coffee treating you?
I'm doing all right. It's hot. The coffee's hot. It hasn't hit the bloodstream yet, though. The cold medicine has. You get me in the fall and change the weather on me, and I'm getting a head cold that seeps into my chest. It's just like freaking clockwork. So
Mm,
throw in some 20-hour days in Denver and some travel. I've felt better,
yeah.
but some Tylenol and some caffeine. We'll be flying by the end of this show.
Yeah, driven by pure spite and rage. That's what I like to say. But let's say hello to some folks coming in here. The one and the only Jeremy Shawn coming in saying, "Morning, boys. More injury concerns. Do you think the slow offensive start will be prolonged due to the lack of practice during the week?" I mean, it doesn't help, but I think it's more important to be healthy than to be fully practiced up. So that's a big concern for me. And they're dropping like flies, but it's not just the injuries. This is part of the game, right? Injuries are happening. It's not like they're happening in Denver like they are to the Chargers. And it's on the coaching staff to have the backups ready. It's on George Payton to have quality backups, and it's on those backup players to be ready to go when their number is called. I mean, this is what you sign up for in the NFL.
I think it's live reps as much as anything. I mean, we had 6 weeks of camp with players in there. Now, we haven't seen, the notorious Billy Turner yet. He could use all the practice he can get. But the guys that went through camp, they need live reps. They need people out there, not being dictated by their own coaching staff. So I think that games just will improve. We've seen it incrementally week to week to week. We've had questions about everything. And for the most part, those questions have been answered. The last big question for us really, is the offensive line. Can you, it starts becoming personnel rather than process, which can be kind of a scarier question, Nick. The process is easier to fix than the personnel in the short term.
Yeah. No, personnel is fixed in the offseason. And right now, unfortunately, the lack of development from Lloyd Cushenberry, the injury to Quinn Miners, and the MIA that is Billy Turner and Tom Compton. I'm starting to get scared about those two. I'm going to be honest with you. I've
already been joking about them for the last couple of weeks. I haven't written them off completely, but it's a punchline at this point.
Yeah.
We want to do it the right way. It's week 3. We were talking about them playing in the preseason. That's 6 weeks of games, 7 really, because it was 3 games off week, 3 games. That's 7 weeks we've been talking about these guys. 2 months, good Lord, could have gotten, an accounting license by now or something, a real estate license in that amount of time. It's crazy.
Yep, we'll see how it plays out. We got US Dave coming in saying, "Yeehaw, Raider week." I like the use of week there, a pun. I'm all about the puns. Dave Glassman coming in with the hearts. Good morning to you, Dave. Good to see you. Luke Wright. Morning, Nick and Scott. Time to kick some Raider butt. LOL. Yeah, absolutely. DWI guys. Ethan over across the pond. Man, Ethan, I wasn't like, kind of before the season, not necessarily like incredibly jealous about the Broncos Jags because it's the Jags, right? Like, blah, blah. Who cares? That's going to be that might end up being one of the best London games matchup wise that we've seen to date because the Jags look legitimate. And Denver's, I think, going to have a few things figured out by then. And I think the defense is going to carry this team at least for the first half of the season.
Yeah, that's another month. There's no bye week before then, right? So we'll have, like I said, what's going to do this team isn't necessarily practice time. They've practiced. Now they need game time, which feeds into all of the people who are upset about how they were used in the preseason. Yeah. They could have used more live reps. They could use more live reps. But again, you're sitting there at 2-1 and on the ascendancy, you hope, right now you played your best game of the season. You're getting a little bit better every week. Sitting at 2-1, you're in on paper anyway, you're in good shape. It was handled correctly.
Yeah, and at the same time, everybody talking about the live reps in preseason and whatnot. Sure as hell doesn't seem like it's really impacted the defense so much, and that's a unit that's been missing guys in the back 7 in a zone, at least first and second down zone heavy defense. So maybe it's a personnel issue as much as anything, or the actual scheme itself. But we'll find out as we get more games, larger sample size, what it looks like. It's luckily the Broncos are 2-1 right now in in spite of the offensive struggles. Miguel coming in saying, good morning, fellas. Good morning to you, Miguel. US Dave also saying, make some NyQuil chicken. Oh, God. We also got Sunny Days.
Those are both off the board for me. One, NyQuil's about 60 proof. You might as well take a shot of whiskey. I don't drink, and I'm a vegetarian, so the NyQuil chicken ain't gonna work for this guy.
Man, yeah, that's don't do that. Sunny Days coming in with the emojis and the support. Good to see you, Sunny Days. Cody Fan coming in saying, guys, Melvin Gordon has 7% fumble rate this season. Yeah, it's I would say that out of most people on Mile High Huddle, I have been the most supportive of Melvin Gordon because he is a good back for the most part as a runner, a pass protector, a receiver, really good goal line back as well. I think he's been one of the most efficient goal line running backs over the last decade. But he's also been one of the highest fumblers. And I'm at the point where like one more, and we were talking about, I think you have to have a come to Jesus moment. Like, we can't have you anymore. Mike Boone's out there. He's been solid. You can save some money. It's just, you can't have that, especially with how the Broncos offense is playing right now. You have no margin for error. Those turnovers are magnified. And especially because they're happening, in horrible situations. So yeah, no, it is bad.
Most of that contract is guaranteed, so I don't think you're saving a ton on it. It wasn't signing bonus, but it was written in as guaranteed. Mm-hmm. So, but it's not that expensive either. It'd be like $1.5 million chump change because he had more incentives in there. So he's got like 2.2, 2.5 maybe was guaranteed, already 20% through the season. But what's interesting though is like he seemed to get used more after he was putting the ball in the turf. I was like, man, I would sit his ass down on the bench and get some stickum, dude. Something. Think about it. If you want to be back in that game, you're gonna have to hold on to the rock.
I think it's because the Broncos were from behind and going into more pass-heavy situations, and the offensive line was getting their butt whipped pretty good. And also Russell Wilson was taking sacks. So I think the Broncos trust Melvin Gordon more in pass protection than Javonte Williams. Now, when you have the reps of Javonte Williams in pass protection, they look good to me. But I almost wonder if it's an awareness thing as much as anything, like where where the pressure is coming and reading that. But we'll see. Javonte Williams, they have 3 good running backs, but if you're fumbling the ball, that's number one. You can't have it. You cannot turn the ball over with how this offense is struggling to score points, and you need to be playing complementary football. Special teams and defense stood up last week. Offense just needs to, in the bare minimum, the bare minimum, protect the football. Ashton coming in here saying, morning, guys. I've been watching after a couple of weeks. Good to see you again, Ashton. It feels like Nick is the only one who sees Judy for what he is, lazy and not stepping up. What needs to happen? Even age wide receiver. Well, first off, I don't want to call Jerry Judy lazy. It looks like he does put in a lot of work. I just think that he has not lived up to the 15th overall draft pick yet. And I have some questions that I always had with Jerry Judy in regards to physicality. And I don't want to use the word toughness because he went out there after suffering a shoulder and a chest injury and played last week. So, I mean, God, he's a tougher SOB than me. That's no doubt about that. But he needs to step up. This offense right now is Cortland Sutton or crap right now, in my opinion. And the only other way that's going to get better, as far as the pass catchers go, or the most probable way that gets better is if Judy takes a step forward. So I'm just hard on him because he needs to be better for this team to go where it wants to go.
And I hate to rewrite history, but when you all started talking about him the other day, I brought up his RAS score. And for an undersized, slender guy, he needs to be super athletic, and he's not. His shuttle time was mid. So it's like that. Those his agility scores are fine if you're 6'4", 220. Mm-hmm. They weren't very good for a route running, twitchy guy, undersized, underweight, and it makes me question the draft pick all along. But that's revisionist history. But you look back at it, you're like, why would they take this guy so high anyway?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it comes back to, not to, pat myself on the back because it's way too early for this, but it's something we talked about all offseason that I feel like we got a good bit of pushback on. And week 1, Jerry Judy, 4 catches, had the big one. That was great. But Russell Wilson has not been so far this season utilizing the quick game. He has not really in his career either. And where does Jerry Judy win? The finesse quick game. You put Jerry Judy in the slot with a Peyton Manning or a Tom Brady, that's incredible. But Russell Wilson, for whatever it is, and there's been a few times this season where he has, but for most of his career and so far this season, quick game is not really being utilized. And that's where Jerry Jeudy shines. So it's as much to me in my opinion right now, a Jerry Jeudy, not still having some mistakes, not attacking the football, some of the physicality aspects of the game on top of just a questionable quarterback to wide receiver fit. And we've said it this offseason, got a lot of pushback on it again. That's like, okay, when you look at this offense, who's going to have a big year? I mean, the go balls when you see one-on-one on the outside with the above the rim players. Hello, Cortland Sutton. Buy that stock right now. I have him in both my fantasy teams, and he's doing me pretty good despite having 0 touchdowns so far. Jerry Jeudy, I stayed away from. And everybody's like, oh, they're going to pelt him with targets. Not seeing the quick game from Russell Wilson so much. So we'll see. Again, I'm hard on Jeudy because they need him to step up. He is the most logical guy that if anybody's going to step up and help this offense right now in the pass game, it's Jeudy.
Yeah, it's early, and he was my pick for the player that could benefit the most from Russell Wilson based on the plays breaking down.
Yeah.
He's going to be the guy that's coming back and getting open, and we've seen that happen. But as I've said before, the busted play is not a basis for an offense. So bubble screens. But again, we talked about this, Nick. We talked about this a little bit on our channel. You've got to run those bubble screens. You've got to have some serious mobility in your offensive line. Mm-hmm. Do you have that right now? If I'm going to do a quick hitter, a quick slant where I can get him in behind, a slant isn't necessarily behind the offensive lineman, but a bubble screen definitely is. An end around or anything like that. Do you have the mobility right now on your offensive line to use the quick game underneath the, as far as behind the line of scrimmage? One step back, catch, go, work your way into traffic and let those big eaters, clear you a path. I don't know.
Literally the only one is Garrett Bowles. Cushenberry does not move well. Dalton Reisner, I think when he's healthy can, but with now dealing with an ankle injury, Graham Glasgow can't move. And I appreciate Graham. He's a great guy. Had a few conversations with him, but he's definitely lost a lot of his mobility. And Cam Fleming, not a great mover either. He's really good in a phone booth, but not exactly awesome there. And Quinn Minor's come back from a hamstring. He does move well, but we're waiting on that. So yeah, it's definitely a struggle. The Broncos need Jeudy to step up. I think that, again, it's also some of the maturity things too. It's like after the game, tweeting at Shannon Sharp talking about your breath smells because you're eating butt. Like, oh, haha. But like, you just had a poor game. How about just sit on it. That you can do your victory laps after you have the big game. Flex on that. But lashing out after that, and I know this for a fact because I've asked for multiple people here. Broncos front office pretty irritated with Jeudy on the socials last season. Haven't heard about this last one, but I can't imagine they were happy about this one, given it's a repeated pattern.
Yeah, it's kind of like, kids, seen but not heard. And that's the thing. There was a conversation about it. It's like we seem to have this more often. It didn't used to happen in the old days where the guys weren't quite as prima donnas. No, we just didn't have the access to them. People have always been people. They change a little bit, but we didn't have the direct access 24/7 to the players via social media like we do now. When I was interviewing recruits, I would not use back in the early 2000s before social media, I would not use the gotcha quote. It's like, I kind of felt like it was my duty to protect them from saying something. Oh yeah, I hated it at Auburn. I'm not going to write that and have an entire fan base hate a 17-year-old kid. We've removed the filter. The filter is gone. These kids are, should know better by the time they're professionals, but the filter is gone.
There's more money involved now also. And also I think there's a little bit more competition with each other. It's the direct access. Well, they're competing on socials with other wide receivers or football players, trying to get that attention. I mean, just
the clout.
How kids work. Yeah. I mean,
Chasing clout. Andrew Baker coming in, being patient, says, morning, y'all. Got a routine change, so able to make it live on a Broncos for Breakfast. We appreciate it. And Triple Z coming in also. First time watching for Broncos for Breakfast in Denver. Flew in yesterday. That's an easy airport to get in and out of. And I enjoyed my time there, as brief as it may have been. Gary Leeds Palmer coming in with stars. Good morning, Nick and Scott. So envious of Scott in London. Yeah, it'll be my third time going over. I'm looking forward to it. So I'm guessing I'm going to hook up with Ethan while we're over there, but we'll see. Well, I'm pushing Zach. I said, Zach, have you booked this yet? He's like, no, but I'm gonna. I'm like, all right. I got him a ticket. So to the Chelsea match. So if Zach bails, somebody can go with me. If you're over in London, we'll go down Saturday morning down to the South Coast. It's supposed to be awesome.
In London, you always get the friend quotes in, so I might as well get one in as well here. Good to see you, Gary Leeds Palmer. We got EJ in the
London,
house.
baby.
EJ in the house. Morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. Good to see you. We got Dom in the house. Dom's great out there in New Mexico. Happy belated birthday, Dom. Saying good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. Scott, buddy, really dope background. Nick, what's up? You ready for Saturday? Have a great day, boys. Denver Broncos for life. Yeah, Michigan coming to Iowa after Michigan beat the absolute hell out of Iowa in the Big Ten championship game last year. But Iowa, I think, has won 5 of their last 6 matchups in Kinnick against top 5 teams, which is insane. Kinnick's one of my favorite stadiums I've ever been to. I'm definitely biased, but it's like you are literally so close to the field that you can reach out and touch the players. I know a few times that people have taken helmets from the opposing team sideline and passed them up because so you better watch yourself there. They also painted the and there's been some people who have been pretty upset about this, but they painted the opposing locker room pink, like a really soft pink. Hayden Fry did that back in the 80s, and just Kinnick's a weird, fun place. But yeah, it should be a good game against.
There was a story like that too, where at LSU they used to have Tiger Mike. They'd pipe in roars of him coming into the locker room. Well, somebody like that came in and doped him, so all they got was like snoring of Tiger Mike as they were going in. Yeah, the background. This was I took this picture on Sunday night as the sun was setting at the game from our seats that we got from Dale. So thanks again to Dale D-Dub. And I was like, that is a cool background. So that's my new background for the show. Unless we do something specific that Nick and I do together, of course we could do this and then put our own logo up in the corner too. So this could be our background, but yeah, I do like it. It's a cool shot.
Really irritates me that StreamYard makes you have to have a green screen to do that, because I'm in like Zoom meetings and Teams meetings and whatnot, and it's like all my hiking pictures in the background in my work meetings every week, rotating them in and out. But alas, you guys just have to deal with the hat collection and the Broncos championship flag, which isn't the worst. Miguel coming in saying, besides Patrick Surtains versus Adams, what matchup are you most looking forward to? What matchup am I most looking forward to? Just honest to God, the Broncos' entire defensive front against the Raiders' defensive front. Broncos have been fortunate so far that they haven't really gone up against an elite offensive line, but this might be the worst one they've gone against so far. I don't know if you saw this, Scott, but Abraham Lucas has yet to surrender pressure this season from what I've seen over in Seattle, but I digress. Yeah, so Adams versus PS2 is a great one, no doubt. I'm really excited
I'm
to see
jealous.
this.
I'm telling you, it just comes down to pure envy. I'm like, I don't know. It's if I had known then what I know now, I'd be in a personnel thing, but you got to start that like when you're in college and sleep on couches and do all that. And, hard to have a family at 27 when you're doing those things and moving them all over the place. But yes, Abraham Lucas was a hit. Spencer Brown was a hit. You need a 3rd round tackle to come in and start. Come and see me. I'll find you one.
But yeah, no, coming in here, I'm really excited to see the Broncos defensive line against the Raiders offensive line. And I'm especially excited about that if that means that the Broncos are playing with the lead, because so far this season, every single game, the Broncos have been, tooth and nail. I want to see, up by a touchdown plus halfway through the 3rd quarter, and you have 5-6 drives where you're like, okay, if you want to run, bet. That sounds great, but we're going to be sending the dogs after you in the pass rush situations. The Broncos have been getting home despite playing such a close game and barely having any leads most of the game as well. So playing with a lead, it'd be amazing out there. That's when the pass rush really has a chance to shine. So that's what I'd be excited for.
I'm looking for, I think as you said it, but for me, it's on both sides, edges versus tackles, period.
Not excited about that. I don't know.
Well, I am. As a neutral, I'm excited to see the challenge, because that's where the game can be turned right there on both sides of it. So I'm interested in see how Bowles and Fleming step up and deal with their edges. And then we know the Raiders offensive line has been a disaster.
Yeah.
So the Broncos edges should feast. So I'm interested in watching that.
Absolutely. Blank coming in over on Twitch with the Russell Wilson holding the football there. Need some more of that energy here. We also got Ryan coming in saying we need another solid wide receiver to go with Patrick and Sutton, and studs for linemen. We are lacking in those 2 areas badly. Yeah, I think we can say right now that all the reactionary post-draft Cushenberry hype was a bunch of hoopla coming from the team. That's like, oh, we didn't get a center. This has always been our guy. We've always loved Cushenberry. We were not looking to replace him. Call BS on that one. Dalton Reisner has been a massive disappointment too this season. He's been, let's just call it as it is, bad. There's no way that I'd bring him back right now with how he's playing. His pass protection has been fine, but his run blocking has been poor. The other one here that I'm curious about, and I need to go back. I'm going to see if I can reach out to some of the data people, but I want to chart the Broncos EPA per play at the end of the season based on personnel look and under center versus shotgun, because I feel like the Broncos so far this season have looked better in 12 personnel with the deep drop back pass game from play action and those specific kinds of looks. So I know I was poo-pooing tight ends early in the year because of Russell Wilson, but maybe in this stage of his career where he seems to be more pocket bound, you'd rather be playing 12 personnel to get more space out there and get more deep safety versus two, which you're going to see more with two tight ends. So definitely areas they need help on the offensive line and the pass catcher, and I'd include tight end.
And you start looking at the draft next year, and George Payton guaranteed that he would have more draft picks because right now it's 5, and your first pick is at 81. I've been trying to set expectations on Nick Benito as being a 64 overall. I think that's where he was. He was the last pick of the second round, and he's a big disappointment. He was 64 as an edge guy. I mean, these are developmental type prospects. Now, the question then becomes, I could have found starting level interior lineman, maybe even a right tackle at that spot. And that starts becoming the question. But, will Nick Benito pay off a little bit more down the long run? But you're 81 next year. So I would start thinking, if my first pick's 81, I'm going interior OL. I can find quality interior OL at 81. I can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, wide receiver depth, cornerback depth, interior defensive line depth, all those areas right now probably. But again, I really was banging the edge rusher drum. I really wanted Drake Jackson or Josh Pascal. Hasn't happened yet, but we'll see how it works out. We got Peter coming in saying, welcome from Malaysia. Let's
Peter's
go Broncos country.
Yeah, world traveler.
Everywhere.
James Bond.
Everywhere. I've been everywhere, man. D. Wilson coming in saying, trap game, be careful. This one, I love you. Thanks for coming in, D. Wilson. I got to say, I absolutely hate this. If anybody in Dove Valley right now, I think I said this on Tuesday night. If anybody in Dove Valley right now is overlooking the Raiders because they're 0-3, I want to kick them in the shin repeatedly, hard, just right square in the shin, because the Broncos have not beaten the Raiders on the road since 2015. This is a Raiders team that I think that's averaging, their losses so far this season have been 5 points a game, so they're not getting blown out. This is still an okay team. I think it's fun to dig at them, and everybody was saying the Raiders are going to win the division. Laughable, but this isn't a horrible, bottom 3 team in the NFL, in my opinion. So anybody who's overlooking this game, again, shin kicks, because you have not beaten the Raiders on the road since Peyton Manning. Don't overlook this team.
Yeah, and frankly, the Broncos haven't played well enough to overlook anybody. You're not going to go in and say, okay, we've got this. If it was going to be anybody, it would have been the Seattle Seahawks, and you got woken up, but you weren't overlooking them. There was too much on the line in that first game, the excitement of the first game. But you're not going in. If you would just come off your last 2 wins in convincing fashion by 3 touchdowns, then maybe you're overlooking the Raiders. Maybe. But right now, you're fighting for everything, tooth and nail. You're not overlooking anybody right now.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. It's you got to get this win. And I know that the thing that makes it kind of tough is that the Raiders are bad, yes, but it's a divisional team. You have that Thursday night game around the corner there, which makes things a little bit tougher here, but you can't overlook the Raiders. We got Peter coming in over on Facebook. Good morning to you, Peter. Good to see you. Saying, hey guys, why did the team change to a zone run? We don't have the personnel for it. Interestingly enough, and this might be a Pro Football Focus centric thing here. Let me share this visual graphic here, data set. Let me see, which one do we want here? I think we want that one. I have multiple up right now. Can we see that? Is it too small?
I don't have my glasses on, so I'm not going to see it very well anyway.
Okay, well, this is last year's Broncos run concept usage, and you can see that it was 122 inside zone, 73 man, and 92 outside zone. This is for 2021. Now let me change that slider over there a little bit to this season, and you can just see the ratios of where everything's at. Through 3 games so far this season, looks pretty damn similar, to be completely honest. Broncos are still using mostly inside zone, heavy amount of man, and some outside zone as well, but still less than the league average. And I think this Broncos team wants to be an outside zone team, but to Scott's point earlier, they don't have the personnel right now. And the Broncos are actually averaging tied for the worst EPA per play on inside zone runs so far this season, which is their most used run play. So obviously an issue there, somewhat conflated by the 2 goal line fumbles, right now, or inflated by the 2 goal line fumbles.
Mhm.
But no, absolutely, it's they're still running a similar blocking scheme according to the data to last season. I think they would like to run more outside zone, but they just don't have guys who can peel and pull and move laterally right now where you can run that outside zone.
Yeah, I don't know the schemes nearly as well. I've always been a personnel person as opposed to the scheme. So I lean on, that's what makes Nick and I a good team. I will look at it and say, okay, Nick, what do you need in this scheme? What do you need? Well, mobility. Well, you lack mobility. That much I can tell. I can watch, two types of teams try and run the same play. And like I said, that screen pass out there, the bubble screen, your right side isn't getting out there and blocking for it. Okay. That's a problem. Again, we have this feeling, this talk that's like, oh, everything will be solved once we get our offensive linemen back at right guard and right tackle. Maybe it should get better at right guard. That's for sure. But you still have a problem at center and you still have a problem at right tackle. At what point does Wattenberg start getting? Wattenberg played some decent guard in the preseason. He was drafted as a center too, but played some decent guard. Has he been active? I haven't checked the inactives. I know he hasn't been playing, but most backups won't play on the offensive line. But I wouldn't be totally shocked to see him start getting some reps.
Yeah, especially if a Breisner keeps struggling. That's maybe you start to think of a contingency plan there. And Wattenberg's not a young player. I think he was drafted 24 years old. So he should be near ready. And the Broncos traded up. Yeah. I mean, yeah. We got Mike Hurt coming in over on Facebook. Good morning, Broncos country. Good morning to you, Mike Hurt. And we got Keep It Real saying, y'all better go to the live chats after week 1. Y'all was silent. Not sure what you're talking about there, but I was at the game and having a trudge back home in sorrow after that week 1 game. Rob Bucksbaum coming in saying, good morning, gents. Let's ride. Go Broncos. #MHH for life. And Sane coming in here saying, you guys are good at what you're doing. Keep it up. Well, we've been keeping it up now for
year and a half,
300 episodes or something, 3 days a week, and filling in for other shows too. So Scott and I talk about as much to each other, I feel, as we talk with our spouses. It's pretty wild. And at least at this relationship, I'm allowed to talk football without getting an eye roll going down the path. Yeah, exactly. Oh, you're going to talk about that again?
Good about not just like not glazing over and looking past me and nodding.
Oh, that's
I'm
nice.
not listening to you, but I'm going to pretend I'm going to, and it just humors me, and then I'll stop. Okay. Thanks for pretending to pay attention.
I don't get that.
I come upstairs from this show that we do. Yeah. When we're doing our night shows, I come upstairs and she's got the Braves on. I'm like, yes.
Good for her. Yeah. Nope, my wife is working on her grant or something like that. God bless her. She works really hard. Doug coming in. Good morning from Montana. Good to see you, Doug. Well, hello to Big Sky Country. We got Glenn Harris saying, Scott, I must be in your background then because I was a few rows behind the Tripuka sign.
I think that's you right there. That's Glenn right there. I zoomed in and I saw Glenn. He's right there on the picture. So wave.
No, put your shirt back on, Glenn. Come on now.
Glenn, did we meet at the meet and greet? I don't. If we did, I met a bunch of people. I don't remember meeting a Glenn. So if not, stop by next time, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Peter coming in here. Who would you sign up early, Jewel and Chubb, for me if they keep up their fitness? You got Jewel for 2 years right now, and he has an injury history, and he's getting paid okay money. So I don't think it's Jewel that you're talking about right now as far as signing. Chubb is one where he has so many injuries. I still want to see it throughout the season, and you have that tag in your pocket with cap space next season that you can use it. As far as signing up early from this team right now, I mean, Draymond Jones has been good, but I don't think he's been elite out there. So maybe you let that one ride a bit as well. I don't know. I don't know who I would sign up right now on this Broncos team that has 1 year left on the contract. I feel like that's not a great situation, I guess, to be, but it also gives you a lot of flexibility next offseason, where outside of Jewel and Draymond, doesn't seem like anybody that it's like, oh, we have to bring them back.
Yeah, with Chubb, he's on 12 right now, which is his 5th-year option. If you tag him, it'll be about 20 to 25 million. That's a chunk of change. Could you tag and trade? We will see, but you do have that option. He may not want that, but you've got plenty of time to negotiate because you do have the option for the tag. Jewel and Chubb, Jewel, you're okay there, and you can start thinking about working in the draft. You'll have more of your draft picks back the year he's coming out of his contract, 2024. You'll have more of your draft picks back. Right now, we've talked about this before. I hate to keep banging on Jerry Jeudy, but right now, there's no way you pick up his fifth-year option and be worth about $12 to $13 million, I would think. So you might try and trade him in the offseason, see what you can get back for him.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think if there's anybody else that would be in that situation right now. I can't really think of anybody. I mean, the ones that actually make some sense to me as far as touching on contracts isn't really a re-signing. It's a restructure extension kind of situation where like Garrett Bowles is getting paid huge money next year. If you are fine with how he's playing, you can save some money long term by adding a few years there, lowering the base and giving him more money, but lowering the cap hit. And you have the ability to do that because his contract becomes much more flexible next season. And the way left tackles typically age, you feel pretty safe about him not falling off a cliff. On the other end of that, potentially falling off a cliff, but a contract you could touch on would be Ronald Darby. Next season, he's playing great football right now, A. And B, he is a contract where I think the dead cap falls off a cliff on next season. The way these contracts are almost always the last year is an option year. And that gives you an option to move on early if they're not performing or approach them with an extension or a restructure with more guaranteed money to lower the cap hit. So Darby and Bowles are the two contracts right now, just off the top of my head. I don't have it in front of me, that are ones that you could touch to give yourself more space, give them more years, or, just give them more guaranteed money while lowering the cap hit.
PJ Locke's a restricted free agent, 25 years old. Draymond's still just 25 years old on $1 million. That might be somebody I know you mentioned him. I'm just kind of reiterating that Draymond is a bargain right now. Mm-hmm. If you want to keep him, and I think you want to keep Draymond around.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been good. Then you have some old.
Glenn was talking about he went on an ATV tour in the mountains. I'm completely jealous. That sounds awesome. So I will forgive you that we missed you for that, because I would have missed like my own wedding for an ATV tour in the mountains. That sounds like a lot of fun.
I did that once outside of Estes Park. My cousin and I rented ATVs and rode them around for 4 hours, and we rode them up to a old plane crash area up in the mountains, with old shrapnel and whatnot. And yeah, definitely a great time. I've also done snowmobiling out there in Estes Park as well. Good times. Peter, but thank you so much for the comment, Peter. We appreciate you. Kevin7 coming in, $4.99, saying, I know you guys talked about this, but damn, our first two picks could have been used way better than an outside linebacker and a tight end, offensive tackle, and another position of value. This draft, given where you're picking, never should have been about the 2022 season. It's about 2023 and beyond for those rookie contracts. And entering the season, if you guys have been following us at all, I was definitely harping on the unknowns of the edge position. Now, that was prior to knowing that Baron Browning was going to be switching to edge. Mm-hmm. And you had Randy Gregory and Bradley Chubb, who both have a history of missing games. So edge position was a massive concern coming into this year. Knock on wood. So far, it's been incredible. Maybe the best position on the team because of how those guys have been playing. But in hindsight, it's easy to say that, but I'm not going to fault them too hard just yet. Now, for the positions, the players, I was not as high on Benito as consensus. I thought that he was very much a niche player, and he's got an elite skill set with his twitch and bend, but he is so thin and poor against the run that I just never saw a huge elite value from him there. I would have gone with a different direction, unfortunately, but again, it's way too early. 3 games into the season. Dulcich hasn't even helped yet. Let's put a pin on that. I even want to put a pin in the 2021 class, for another year or so before we start writing the, this is the best class ever. I'll never forget. Sorry to go on a rant here, Scott, but 2019, everybody in Broncos country was tripping over themselves. Oh my God, this 2019 class has been so amazing. We got, or was it 2019? We got, we traded down. We got a first round tight end and Noah Fant. We got a future franchise quarterback in Drew Lock. And Dalton Reisner looked like an all-pro year one. It's going to be amazing. Flash forward to now. Not great.
Wait till you see the sophomore slump and see how it goes around. I would have gone, Kevin, in these spots. This isn't hindsight speaking. I would have gone one of three ways at that 64 spot.
Mhm.
Abraham Lucas went 72. Travis Jones went 76, and Bernard Raymond went 77. So that was tackle, defensive tackle. And it looks like 2 of the 3 would have been pretty good, and the jury's still out on Travis Jones based on the knee injury. Those are the ways I would have gone for that spot. But again, I'll say it a zillion times. If Benito works out, then it doesn't necessarily matter. You keep stacking up good players. If you hit on your draft picks, the position isn't nearly as important. It's not who you miss that hurts you. It's who you get and can't play. So right now, Dulcich isn't playing. That's hurting you. Benito is, he was a developmental guy with some tools. He wasn't meant to come in and play right away. That's why you spent a bunch of money on Randy Gregory and moved Baron Browning over there. You went for the speed and a longer-term option with Benito. Could you have been better off in the short run by putting Abraham Lucas at right tackle? Yes.
Yeah. Yep, we got Kid Trunks coming in here saying trade Jerry Jeudy. I don't think that's happening right now, but hey, if things keep struggling, maybe we'll hear something this offseason. Ernie Mays, go Broncos. We got Kaleon Green. Yo, good to see you, Kaleon. Awesome to see you coming in here. We got Kid all saying, will Jeudy start working on his drops? I think he is working on them. He just got to get a little bit better in that regard. Diego coming in saying none of our tight ends showing up this year. Hopefully Dulcich can be a little better. I think Dulcich is going to be a fine starting tight end in the league. I really do. I think he's got a lot of nuance in his route running, and he's got the want to in his run blocking. He does have to add strength and whatnot because he looks more like a big slot than a tight end right now coming out of UCLA, but missing most of the offseason, missing the first 4 weeks of the year. And then you have just the historical precedent of tight ends, even ones that are taken in the first round. It typically takes 3-4 years before they really start hitting the ground running. So expecting, I think, almost anything besides, if let's say like 10 catches from Dulcich this season, just as like a dump off option, I think is more than or higher expectations than what it should be. I mean, you have Trey McBride, who a lot of Broncos country was screaming for over the offseason because of the Colorado connection and the want and need for a tight end, but he's done absolutely bipkiss so far this season. So tight ends take time typically. Coach Chris coming in, $20. Man, thank you so much, Chris. Flashing orange on here saying, what's up, guys? This game this week will set the tone for the year. Can we go into a loud, hostile environment and play as a whole team? Russ can't wait until the fourth quarter to come around. Denver Broncos for life. #MHH Cooks. Yeah. Is it going to be a loud stadium? A hostile environment there? The Raiders are 0-3. It's still, nice part of the year. It's starting to get a little cooler out there. And I know it's a division rival, but also Las Vegas is a destination city. So a lot of people are like, I'm going to go to the game, support my team, and then enjoy the town. So I think it's going to be closer to maybe a 20-80 split or a 25-75 split, Broncos to Raiders fans, which I don't know how hostile it'll make it. I mean, back when Oakland was in the Coliseum, it was tucked in that little neighborhood. Now that was a hostile environment because people were not vacationing in that section of Oakland to enjoy the area. But no, absolutely. It's definitely one that the Broncos need to go in and win. Also, just put a knife in the Raiders. Put a dagger in them. Put
the down. Step on their necks.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right, Nick. They're down. They want to quit.
Yeah.
Help them. Don't give them any hope. Help them. Go out and put points on the board right away.
Yep, 100%. There's no reason. You got to just go out there and step on the neck. Sweep the leg. Yeah, if you will. We also got Peter Milton coming in saying, talking about tight ends after the Raiders game. Broncos presumable tight end 1 is going to be playing. Looking forward to that. I would not be so sure about Dulcich. He will be able to come off the injured report. I think they can keep him on there as long as they want. I don't think it's he comes off and you have to reset the 4 weeks.
It's a 4-week minimum.
Yes.
You're eligible, not mandatory.
100%. So absolutely. And let's get into the topic here for the show. But before we do, are you guys excited about the games this week? Because I know I am. It's not just the Broncos versus the Raiders. You got the Eagles taking on the Jags. What a game. Of course, you got probably the best quarterback matchup of the week with Josh Allen taking on Lamar Jackson. And of course, you got the Chiefs versus the Buccaneers. Man, that would be great to see the Chiefs riding a 2-game losing streak. Patrick Mahomes probably going to look human this week against Tampa Bay, which Denver has a good defense this year. Tampa Bay is probably number 1. Well, either way, guys, you need to check out MyBookie. MyBookie has super contest survivor pools and double deposit bonuses that gives you everything you need to secure the bag this season. Getting started is simple. Sign up today and use promo code Wilson22 and you'll double your first deposit instantly. Again, that's promo code Wilson22 to double your deposit up to $1,000 at MyBookie. This isn't your grandfather's bookie. This is MyBookie. Put your money where your mouth is and get rewarded for it right now. Begin your winning season today exclusively at MyBookie.
Yeah, and looking at that, let's see. Vegas is averaging 21.3. What was the over-under on that? About 44? They're averaging 21.3. I know the Broncos aren't averaging 21.3. 44 sounds a little bit high. If I'm looking at one thing, I might go with the under on this one.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet. But it'll be interesting to see. And getting into it here, so Scott, we talked a lot about the offense and the struggles of the offense, the offensive line, Jerry Jeudy, et cetera, et cetera. I actually wrote an article yesterday just about how good Courtland Sutton's been so far this season. Football Outsiders has him as the second best wide receiver in football through 3 weeks, only trailing Stephon Diggs. And that's a part of it. And I love this that Football Outsider does this. And Scott, I'm curious if you think this is a skill. But one of the reasons that Courtland Sutton has such a high advanced statistic so far this season, 3 defensive pass interferences called against him for 81 yards. Now in your fantasy football, that doesn't count, but in the NFL, 81, I mean, those are as good as receptions. And you know what else is better than receptions? Gregory Vandelin coming in 50 buckaroos. Touchdown. Thank you so much, Greg. Touchdown. No pass interference on that one. Thank you so much, Greg. We appreciate you. That's big time.
Yeah. Thanks, Greg. That's awesome. Making our morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate you. If you ever have anything, you and Jacob Foster are pretty solid. Gregory, I feel like comes in with some quotes, with some questions and everything. But yeah, let us know if you need anything, man. So you get the request line when you come in hot pink like that.
Yeah.
Is it a skill? Yes. Because you're getting open. Grab the guy and not give up a touchdown. It's also a measure of lack of other options, because if Russ sees single coverage, he's throwing it his way.
Yep.
And he's a handful. So he's putting it up, go make a play. And if you're not going to get it, if it's incomplete, okay, it could be a catch, could be a pass interference. It's like 2 out of 3 things are good when you've got Courtland Sutton in man coverage. So yeah, it is a skill. It means he's really good at getting open, and Russ is going to him when he sees single coverage.
Yeah, 100%. So, Courtland Sutton so far had an incredible season. But shifting it over to the defense, Scott, I think you and I, especially me, I don't know if you're as much about this. Maybe it's because, again, everyone drink. The Iowa Hawkeyes, if you don't appreciate good defensive football, you're not going to enjoy yourself with this team. But this Broncos defense so far this year has been extremely impressive. Now, I know they have not played a murderer's row of quarterbacks. Nobody's shaking in their boots at Geno Smith, Davis Mills, and Jimmy Garoppolo, all very flawed quarterbacks in my opinion. But still, this Broncos defense, you can only play who is in front of you. And so far, I think they've been up to the task. And just going over some of the stats so far right now, so far this season, their EPA per play, they are 6th in the NFL at negative 0.142, only trailing the Bengals, the 49ers, the Jags, the Bills, and Tampa Bay is so far away and ahead of everybody, buddy. Right now, Denver also 6th in success rate so far this season. Their passing game defense is 7th in the NFL per EPA, and the run game is 8th. So been pretty balanced on both sides of the ball. Their Football Outsiders has the Broncos defense right now as let me see where we at right now. DVOA, they have them at 5th in the league. They're 4th against the pass, 8th against the run. So I mean, we know that they're 2nd in points per game. That's not always the best measure, but this has been an extremely good defense to start the season. And I know we'd like to talk about efficiency as well, Scott. The points per drive coming up right now. Denver's 3rd in points per drive so far this season, only trailing the 49ers and the Buccaneers. So they've been a hella good defense and taking the ball away better than last year as well. They're 14th in turnovers per drive. So really, I've been shocked about how good this defense has been.
Nick, we had that question yesterday, which was, what would you think if points per game is the most important stat? What would you consider the next most important stat? And I actually pushed back on that, saying I actually think points per drive is probably your more important stat, because you can take the air out of the ball and limit the other team's possessions to keep the points down. But if they're scoring every time they have the ball, you're not really a good defense.
Yeah.
How good was this defense when you're going 3 and out the most times in Russell Wilson's career? and you're right back out there and you're getting the ball back to your offense every single time. That was, the gut reaction pod of the next day we did with Zach. We have questions coming in about the defense. Will this defense be more aggressive? Will they force more turnovers? Can they get more pressures on the quarterback? And can they win a game for you? Can they play to win instead of just playing not to lose? Can they get a stop when you need one and turn the ball over for you? Yes, and yes. So far, this is a defense that can win you games. The other question we had yesterday, Nick, was, who would you take right now if the Falcons played the Broncos? And right now, I think that the answer would be fairly similar no matter who the Broncos were playing. I expect the game to be close and low scoring until the offense gets going. It doesn't matter who they're playing. The defense is going to keep you in every single game until the offense can start clicking. And it doesn't matter the opponent right now. So the defense has been really, really good. And yeah, you're not playing a murderer's row of quarterbacks and offenses right now, but you've also held them to much lower than what they've had so far. So they might not be great, but you're holding them down so even more. And the fact that they're able to stand up with all of the possessions that the 49ers had told me something. That tells me a lot about this defense, because they were 3 and out constantly. And part of that also, and then I'll turn this over since I've been rambling, is the special teams. Corliss Waitman pinning those guys inside the 10 7 times. He had 7 punts inside the 20, and I felt like most of them were 6 or 7 yard line. So part of it was the special teams working in conjunction with the defense to pin them back then, and then helping to turn the ball over for not giving up points.
Yeah, 100%. Peter coming in saying our punter needs recognition as he deserved. Yeah, special teams player of the week. He definitely got it. Albert Knopper's coming in here. Good morning, y'all. Good to see you, Albert. We also got Kevin 7 coming back in. Double dipping today. Thank you so much, Kevin 7. Saying, I get the comment from might have looked like an overreaction, but the season started. We knew we needed a long-term offensive tackle. Lucas was perfect. Yep. Lucas would have been a good one looking back on it. I wouldn't even have been upset if they traded up and gotten Cam Jurgens also, who's apparently looked pretty good out there. Backup center for now. But, I mean, if the Broncos want to run outside zone and you have a center who cannot move, you're going to be limited in what you can actually run. So, yeah, definitely.
I love Lucas. His frame, his natural strength. You can see, I mean, those guys, they rock back and they sit back. And when they're able to absorb pressure like that without getting knocked backwards, it's just a different level of strength. And he's so strong. And, I was a fan of his. Like I said, that probably would have been my pick there. Either that or Travis Jones, depending on the medicals. I love Travis Jones, big dude right in the middle. You don't need Travis Jones. Mike Purcell has stepped up a little bit and you went and got DJ Jones. You needed Abraham Lucas.
Yeah. Yep. It's you could definitely use him. Now, who'd have thought that you'd be down your top 2 right tackles and Calvin Anderson not stepping up as well, but that's football.
You're down those 2, but those guys weren't answers anyway. Those were still question marks.
Yeah, you're right. And also you signed those guys.
Like, oh, wait, well, we didn't know we were going to sign this big-time free agent and he was going to be hurt. Well, 1, yes, you did. He was hurt. And 2, he wasn't a big-time free agent. This was a stopgap guy anyway. This was a bridge player anyway. So I've said this before. I said this about last year. If there's one complaint I have about George Paton so far, it's his inability to address the right tackle position. That is carried over to the second year. Yeah.
No, you're definitely right on that. And also, you signed both Tom Compton and Billy Turner knowing they had medical concerns. And here they are, still out. Question. I don't know, man. I'm concerned about both those guys right now coming back this season, but we'll see how it plays out. So defense, the defense has been incredible so far, and I'll get into it a little bit since Scott mentioned it earlier. What's really making this defense tick? Well, first off, Giro Evero, man, he's been incredible so far, well-spoken, intelligent. The in-game adjustments that we've seen there, really the only big issues I've had with this Broncos defense so far this season was 2 miscommunications that led to some big touchdowns that week 1 game. And if anybody wants to argue about the Broncos missing preseason and having issues, it's those 2 plays right there. That, the communication on the back end is the big one there. You're missing Jewel, but go ahead.
If Alex Singleton makes a tackle, that's not a touchdown.
Yeah, true. But
he came free. He came free and Gino ducked him. I mean, then you don't even notice that there was a miscommunication in the back unless the guys in the crew are able to say, oh, he had him wide open, but the blitz took care of it. So even that one has a yeah, but attached to it because that was a free shot for a sack that gave up when he vacated that hole. If he makes that sack, then you're not even having this conversation about it.
It's a different game. I mean, that's Seahawks score a touchdown on the opening drive. Totally different game there after that. Unfortunately, yeah, Josie Jewell doesn't miss that one probably. And also, I don't think Jonas Griffith is slow to react on the coverage with Jewell there. Maybe not even the second touchdown, the one to Colby Parkinson, unfortunately. But I digress. The defense has been incredible so far. What's making this defense tick? Said it all off season. I said it. I'll say it again. And I remember we talked about it last week. I think it was you and I, Scott, saying, who can you live the least without? Or who do you need the most next week to beat the 49ers? On the surface, it's okay, the offense is struggling. We need Judy. I still said Surtain because he is, I've said it many times, he is the straw that stirs the drink of that defense. And the entire structure of the defense right now functions because of, sorry, blocking this.
I got
Scott
it.
already got it. And we got more, maybe the same person blocked there. The sex bots, they found us, guys. But anyway, the whole defensive structure circles around what Surtain is in man coverage, eliminating a wide receiver one. And so far, he has been incredible in that. So far this season, let me just pull up the data here. The Broncos have played on first and second down. They're a defense that likes to play a lot of cover 6 or cover 3. And I guess I'll get a little bit technical with this. The Broncos like to play 2 high safety shells pre-snap and then rotate a safety after the snap. So it always looks the same before the snap. So the quarterback has one more thing to process. And a cover 3, everybody knows what that is. That's when the 2 high safety shell, somebody will walk down and be a robber. The other one will be a deep safety, and the 2 cornerbacks will flare out. There's your cover 3, but they also play a lot of cover 6, also known as a quarter, half, where you'll have on the 2 safeties, both of them will stay back. One cornerback will flare back and take a quarter. The safety next to him will take a quarter. And then on the other side of the field, that safety will take a half the field, and the cornerback on that side of the field will be in a press situation. So you're seeing a lot of cover 3 or cover 6 in that, with the Broncos playing a little bit more conservative coverage on first and second down featuring zone. But then you get to third down, and that's where it starts to get a lot of fun. Cover 1, it's man coverage on third down from this Broncos team, which speaks to the pass rushers. It speaks to the coverage guys out there. Broncos so far this season on third down have run 19 cover 1 snaps. That's almost 50% more than the league average right now, and only run cover 6 one time. They've run 11 cover 3s, but really on third and long, or at third and fourth down at all, it's been man defense, cover 1, and they're doing that because they have a cornerback who they trust to blanket a number 1, not worry about it, send pressure on third down, and get after the quarterback. And it's always a symbiotic relationship between the pass rush and the coverage. But I think, again, the straw that stirs the drink is Surtain. He's allowing you to do these things.
Yeah, there's 2 different ways you can do it when we're talking about, getting pressure. 1, if I can get pressure with my front 4, I'm super dangerous because I can have 7 guys in coverage. 2, if I can man up and trust my guys in coverage, I can send more guys on pressure, which in some cases, you've had the luxury of being able to do both, which makes you a really dangerous defense. I've seen sets out there with Randy Gregory, Bradley Chubb, and Baron Browning all on the field at the same time and all going after the quarterback. That's a scary opposition. Plus, DJ Jones is able to get in there, get up right up the middle and cause havoc up the middle as well. So you not only have the trust in your defense, you've got guys that can beat their man one-on-one up front. So I can rush 4 and get pressure. I can drop 7 in a cover. That's rushing 4, or I can rush 5 or 6 and trust my defensive backs on the back end. And frankly, this has been without Justin Simmons too.
Yeah.
So, now you're starting to develop some depth as well that you can rotate guys in. And it's, again, we're not talking, Buffalo Bills here, peak Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady picking apart guys, but you can only beat the guys that have been in front of you, and you've been doing a really, really good job. And you've got the ability to get after the quarterback in 2 different ways.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Jeremy's saying DJ Jones is a monster in the run game. Chubb and Gregory have been problems at edge. Patrick Surtain is locking up opposing wide receivers ones. Haven't really missed Simmons. Going back and watching this San Francisco game from a all-22 perspective, watching the coverage back there were a lot of plays on the field where there was a wide receiver that was getting open that Jimmy Garoppolo either missed or didn't trust his arm talent to make that throw, how late he was seeing them in the progression. So against somebody like Justin Herbert, who's healthy, against a Josh Allen, against a Lamar Jackson, against a Patrick Mahomes, I think that you would have missed Justin Simmons a lot because there was some coverage breakdowns from the safeties specifically on the back end of the defense where a guy was out of position that we didn't get punished for, we being the Broncos defense. So I think that that's more of it's the talent of the pass rush getting home, making Jimmy Garoppolo feel uncomfortable and whatnot, and also Davis Mills. But it's also guys not taking advantage of it. So I definitely think if you didn't have Simmons out there against a better, more aggressive vertical thrower of the football, it might have been a different story, unfortunately.
Yeah, having Simmons out there will make the good defense even better, plain and simple, and can cover up some things. You will face better offenses, but how many defenses are going to be better than what that team's going to face too? So, it's been, we led this off with the defense. Defense has been phenomenal. And it's not just the adjustments being made. That's what I like seeing as well. The Seattle Seahawks were having some success in the first half. They got zip in the second half.
Yeah.
And, again, it's Jimmy Garoppolo. But again, Jimmy's had some success too in the past. Not this week. He had one and a half good drives. And he had the ball a lot because you were going 3 and out a lot. So the offense kept putting pressure on the defense and the defense kept stepping up. Now it's time for the offense to start carrying its weight.
100%. And Gary Lutz Palmer coming in saying if anybody deserves the contract, it's Patrick Surtain. The Broncos literally cannot sign him to a new contract for 2 more seasons. You have to be 3 years out of the draft before you can be approached for a new contract if you are still under contract. Now, if Broncos, let's say player X was released, then obviously they can get a new contract because they're free agent or waived, I guess, technically. But no, Broncos under contract. They couldn't even approach him to a contract until the off-season following next year.
You handle that. There's ways around that, obviously. I'm speaking with his agent and saying, hey, listen, when it comes time, this is what we're going to offer you. I didn't just offer you, but you've got the offer. It's kind of like the old recruiting thing. I'm not allowed to offer you a scholarship until September 1st of your senior year. Nick, I'm not allowed to offer you a scholarship until September 1st of next year, but when it comes time, you've got an offer from the University of West Texas, Alabama State. I didn't just offer you, but you've got an offer. So those conversations do happen.
No, 100%. So we're wrapping up here pretty soon. Biggest surprise so far for you on this defense, Scott?
I would say based on what we saw early is run defense. Based on what we saw again, Jonathan Harris was out there for some snaps. I said I don't want to see Jonathan Harris and McTelvin Agim out there ever again. Jonathan Harris was out there some. Mike Purcell stepped up in a big way. DJ Jones has been all that in a bag of chips. So the run defense, and now that Josie Jewell is back again, Josie Jewell is underappreciated by Broncos country. The guy makes plays. He is a good football player. So it'll be fun to see it all come together. And then Justin Simmons, when he's back coming in, this is a championship caliber defense, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's a very good defense. Right now, the Broncos offense is lagging, and they definitely got to get better there. Biggest surprise for me has got to be just how dominant the edge rushers have looked already so far this season. They have all the talent in the world. Bradley Chubb being a top 5 pick, but he's playing like a top 5 pick. And I'm always the skeptic. I got to see it to believe it. But hearing this offseason, he's as healthy as he's been since his rookie season. You hear something like that every single year. He lost this weight. He's amazing. Oh, we put back on weight. It's great. Oh, this new diet, et cetera, et cetera. Proof's in the pudding. Proof right now looking pretty damn good for Bradley
Chubb. Amazing what a contract year can do for you, isn't it?
Yeah, no,
we said that about some other players, Nick. It's like, man, I love that he's doing this. Why did it take him so long?
Yeah.
It's a good news, bad news thing. I'm happy and I'm pissed at the same time.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% agree with you. I do think that Chubb's issue is not so much motivation of that thing. I do think it's more so the health, knowing about Chubb. Some players, you can question that, where it's like, oh, here it is. Here's your year. I'm going to try hard now. And then oaf a little bit after that. Bigger question with Chubb is, can he stay healthy? So that's the other one. And then Randy Gregory across the way. We talked about it when we signed him. I wasn't even that upset. I know a lot of people, why would they give him this money when you had Chandler Jones out there? You could have paid Von Miller.
It wasn't that much money.
Well, on the surface, it looks like a big
Yeah, when you say
contract.
$70 million, but I looked it up because Gary Leeds Palmer made mention of that. I was a little skeptical at first, and that's because you see the headline,
Mhm.
5 years, $70 million. It's not.
It's a
It
2-year
was
contract.
2 years, 28 million is what
Yeah,
it is.
100%.
2 years, 28 million because you can get out of it after year 3.
Yeah,
So it was 28 guaranteed. 14 million a year for a player like this with his potential is, you got a bargain. So
yeah,
forget the 570. If you've learned anything from me, forget the number that they report. Go start looking at the guaranteed money in the years, and Spot Rack makes it nice and easy. When you look at it, start looking at dead cap versus salary cap. And when those numbers become more unfavorable, where the cap hit is much higher than the dead cap, that's where you know the contract is over. That's where it's a club option at that point.
yep. 100%. Ethan coming in. Great shows, gents. Have a good weekend, everyone. Hopefully, we can discuss the big win on Monday. 100%. And also, my other big surprise here, just how damn good is Josie Jewell? The Broncos, they're not really great running defenses or offenses they played the first 2 weeks, but that 49ers team historically is the best running offense in football. I know their offensive line is not as good as they used to be this season. I know that the running backs are dinged up, but that hasn't really stopped the 49ers previously from being a top 5 rushing offense. And last week, some of it helped the defensive line, but Josie Jewell was everywhere. Never felt like they were really out of position. Obviously, he has limitations, but you can say that about every single player ever. We hear excuses for Russell Wilson's height, but if Josie Jewell can't carry Deebo Samuel down the literal sideline, then he's not a serviceable linebacker. No, dumb. That's a bad argument. So Josie Jewell,
grab
he's been
onto him and take your 5-yard penalty.
at
That was
15, but probably right.
is it. I thought it was a holding would have been 5. Offensive
Defensive
holding is 5 automatic first down.
Is it? Okay, I don't even remember. I know it's different in the. I know it's different in college as well, but no, that's probably what it should have been. I don't even know if he was able to catch up to Deebo.
Well,
on that.
he had time to get out because he stopped his feet.
Yeah.
You've got to at least jam him. You're in a
Yeah.
bad way out there.
Yep.
Get out in front of him, force him inside, do something. You had time to get out there. But again, that's what's so nice, Nick, is we're talking about so far on this defense. We're talking about like 2 plays that were okay, could have done better here. Where one, Alex will make a tackle, and Josie Jewell get out wider on Deebo and make sure that he doesn't have a free release up on the wheel pattern. Through 3 games, that's pretty damn good. And Ethan, thank you, sir.
Yeah,
appreciate you so much coming in fuchsia like that. And I look forward to getting over to England here. It feels like it should be October. So look forward to getting over to England here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, Josie had a really good game, and excited to see what he can do going forward as he continues to work off that calf injury. Biggest concern, Scott. Then we'll call it a show unless anybody comes in with a super chat or any questions you want to hit
on defense.
Yeah, on defense.
Biggest concern. I mean, injuries is the easy one to say. I think, can they sustain the pressure? Can Chubb and Gregory keep up this level where they're making 2 game-changing plays each during the course of a game? Because they are. Each of them are making 2 game changers. And if you can do that, whether it's a big sack on 3rd down, a strip sack, or a fumble, a forced fumble, something like that, if you can do that, you're going to win a lot of games because they are making game-changing plays. Last year, I said before, this defense played not to lose, and it was irritating. It was painful to watch. This is an attack-minded defense. So, I guess I would say to keep that level up, because again, injuries is the easy one to say. Otherwise, it's just keep doing what you're doing. Get more guys healthy, get more guys familiar with the system, and this defense should only get better, man. It should only get better.
Yeah, 100%. For me, my biggest concern is the quality of depth at the interior defensive line and the cornerback position. Those 2 ones right now, you've been relatively healthy there, but if you lose one person,
that's why I said injuries is the easy one, Nick.
Yeah, and they're rotational too. I mean, that's something where even it's guys suspended for a game or something. But it's the depth specifically on the interior defensive line. I feel like we've got depth on the safety position to live with that. I think losing Jewell would have hurt. He was really good last week, but I think you can survive with Singleton and Jonas Griffith and limit the damage. Do some triage defense there. But the interior defensive line, if you lose Draymond Jones or DJ Jones, you talk about Jonathan Harris now, you're bumping him up to 20 to 40% of the snaps. Bad. You're talking about the cornerback position, losing Darby or Surtain. Ojemudia is dealing with an injury already this season. I mean, Mathis was okay in limited action, but not against a good team.
Just leave it at injuries is the easy one, Nick. You're putting out too much bad juju out there.
It's those two spots specifically, though. I think you can survive safety, edge, and for short term, safety, edge, and
linebacker. Interior line and corner is where the depth is more of a concern.
Yep, 100%. Andrew Lampy coming in saying, "Morning all, have a great Thursday." You too, Andrew. Thank you so much for coming in and supporting us with the stars as we start to wrap up the show here. But guys, that's going to have to do it for us. I won't see you again until Wednesday morning because I'm going to be going on a backpacking trip again. Nick is trying to get it in before the snow comes. I might have to pivot because of the stupid wildfire again, but we'll figure something out. There's a lot of areas in the state, beautiful state of Washington to go explore and enjoy. And
So do you have a prediction before we get out of here?
Oh, yes. God, good call. We didn't even talk that much about the Raiders. They're bad. And I think this Broncos team, I do think that I have a lot of respect for Patrick Graham, the Raiders defensive coordinator, but it's still a Jimmy's and Joe's versus an X's and O's game. And I think this Raiders linebacker group is terrible. I think the interior defensive line group is terrible. So this is a game I think the Broncos are going to play it somewhat simple, stupid. Run the ball, be effective in that regard, punch them in the mouth, protect the football. And if you can protect the football and move it on the ground, you should be okay. So I'm going to have to go with the Broncos winning this game 27-14.
I'm 1-2 so far on picks. I've told you when I have an emotional attachment to a team, it makes it really hard to make picks because your emotions start getting into the robotics. And I do have an emotional attachment to Broncos country. This is like an extended family to me. So I will just say I think this is a game that the Broncos should win. Yeah, I think they should win. When I start trying to pick this game, I start thinking about the old Skinnedy jinx. So I will say this is a game that I think the Broncos should win. They're 2-1 versus 0-3. The defense is playing spectacularly. The offense should keep getting a little bit better. This defense for the Raiders isn't nearly as good as what you saw against the 49ers. And your edges should feast on this offensive line. So, yes, Devontae Adams is a little scary. Yes, Derek Carr is going to be the best quarterback you faced. But this might be the worst offensive line you faced.
Yeah. It's a bad one. No doubt about that. So we also had Twitch coming in here. ID Williams saying, "Good morning, guys. Mile high salute. Question, is Russell Wilson comfortable in the offense? 2, is Coach Hackett making Russell a pocket quarterback because he's not using his legs that much?" I think that you are not giving Russell Wilson enough credit with how much power he has and what he wants to be. I think there's a reason that Russell Wilson was so interested in joining Sean Payton is because I think Russell Wilson wants to be Drew Brees. And I don't know if he's that type of quarterback to be Drew Brees. I know he's got the height things, but hasn't really looked like that so far. Drew Brees was able to pelt the middle of the field and the quick game, and have not seen that from Wilson. So I think it's more on Wilson. Is Wilson uncomfortable in the offense? I think right now he's a little bit uncomfortable in the offense, but I mean, you put on his tape these first 3 weeks and specifically the broken plays, and then you put it on the last 5 weeks, he looks less twitchy than he was back then. So I think it's more of just the natural progression of Wilson and his need to evolve. What does it say? It's natural selection out here, right? There's conditions right now where it's adapt or die for Russell Wilson. So I think it's probably, I'm putting more on Russell Wilson right now than Hackett in terms of the actual offense between these two. Obviously you can talk wide receivers and the offensive line as well, but I think it's players, especially the quarterback.
I think Russell Wilson has been pretty good, honestly. He's missed a throw here or there. Who doesn't? I think he's uncomfortable in this offense because the offensive line is letting the defensive guys collapse the pocket. So while he's back there, he's getting put in a car crusher. He doesn't have the time back there. And then when he escapes, he's been dangerous. So some of the ad lib plays he's made has been using his legs, and he's been really dangerous. And I don't watch the rest of the league, Nick, but it feels like there's been an inordinate amount of drops. I don't see, I watch a couple games, maybe 3 or 4 a week, but I don't see all of the other teams dropping the ball as much as I've seen the Broncos drop the ball. Yeah. So better offensive line play, catch the damn ball, and I don't think we're going to be talking too much about what happened to Russell Wilson.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they figure it out. This is definitely a chance for a get-right game. And
thanks for coming in on Twitch.
Yeah, thank you so much, ID Williams.
Tell a friend.
Yeah. We also got Patrick coming in. Good morning, sirs. You are my coffee brothers for life. Amen. Enjoying some Lion coffee right now. God, so good. Everybody at my work, that at my other job, is really jealous too. I'm like, yeah, I got this guy listening to the show, sent me some coffee. I'm drinking it right now. It's like, oh my God, what is it? Lion coffee? Are you serious? A lot of them have been to Hawaii and actually know of Lion coffee. So appreciate you guys so much. We got to get it out of here.
I want to follow this one up though. You know,
Yep.
our Twitch guy coming in here, he goes, okay, are the naked bootleg plays and rollouts? What about play action plays? Because I haven't seen them much. I want to hit this one because there was a comment on our last show about, you know, being in the shotgun. And you know who else was in the shotgun was John Elway a lot. A lot of these guys are in the shotgun. The question had to do with where are the bootlegs and are you using Javonte Williams in his best way? So it's hard to run bootleg and rollouts from a shotgun because you're not in motion. Normally a bootleg is you take the ball under center, you drop back, you hand off, and you just keep going on around. When you're in the shotgun, everybody's at a stop. So you're just reading, you're faking a handoff to a running back who's standing right next to you instead of coming downhill from 7 yards deep in an I formation, or at least a single bat set. So that takes out the bootleg. The play action still works, but everything is slower when you're running that. The RPO is slower, and if they don't respect your tackles, the edges will just crash down and meet the ball at the shotgun point. So again, the if you want to get the best out of Javonte Williams, if you want to see more bootlegs and rollouts, it's not going to come from shotgun.
Yep. Yeah. I think you need some more deep drops, play action stuff going on here for those shots. And Russell Wilson's got to be better in the quick game. It just doesn't look comfortable right now. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Again, adapt or die.
No, you're right. That's where it works. You know, quick fake handoff and then hit the slant. Jerry Jeudy special. Okwebenam special right there.
And there's a few plays where it's great out there, but it's just I don't know if he trusts it. So we'll see what happens. We appreciate you guys so much. We got to get on out of here. We're at an hour and 12 minutes. But you guys are great. Make sure you're following Scott and I on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I am at Nick Kendell MHH. Also follow us at BFB_pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you're following us on Facebook at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. And as the ticker says underneath, make sure you subscribe, like, and share over on YouTube. Hit that bell icon so that way you know when we go live. Scott and I are typically pretty good about being on time, but that way, you know, if you're doing something else or, that's right, Nick and Scott are going to be on, or Chad and Zach, or whatever show. So make sure you hit that and subscribe, like, and share to your social media. So appreciate you guys. Again, I will see you again on Wednesday morning, I guess, and Wednesday night. And we got C. Patrick Havner coming in here as well with the Stars.
Yeah, just in case we missed that one. I feel like we missed that one. So wanted to say thank you to Patrick. And, you know, my last words before you get us out of here, Nick, was just thanks again, Gregory, Ethan, GLP, Kevin coming in a couple times. I don't know if Garth was here. Coach Chris, Garth comes in a lot for us. Miguel, Lawrence, all y'all. So thanks again for the support, and have a great week, everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. Have a good one. Stay safe, choose kindness, and choose compassion. Go Broncos.